There are lessons to be learned about life all around us, and if you don't pay attention to them, then they become gone with the wind. Hello again, everybody. I'm Eli's dad with Project Eli, where we educate, lead, and inspire. And you know, one of the things that I preach in these videos is that when you have singleness of purpose, everything around you starts to relate to that one individual purpose. My purpose, of course, here with you and with Eli is personal development. So I was looking at some outstanding lines from the movies, and boy, do they fit into personal development. So today we're going to go to the movies, we're going to take a look at some lines, and we're going to see how they fit into the personal development structure. The first one, once again, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. Now that, of course, is Clark Gable from Gone with the Wind. And one of the things that you want to learn from that line is people don't care. They care about themselves. What's in it for me? That's what they care about. Another line that's very similar, now this is one of my absolute favorites, comes from the movie Casablanca. It's with Peter Lorre and Humphrey Bogart. Humphrey Bogart is, of course, the hero. Peter Lorre goes, "Rick, you despise me, don't you?" And Humphrey Bogart says, "Well, if I gave you any thought, I probably would." Which is to say that things aren't fair in life. People, mostly care about themselves. So you need, Eli, to keep that in mind when you have an issue and you start telling it to somebody else. Yeah, they'll listen to you, but only the people that really, really love you the most are the ones that are going to try and sympathize and emphasize. Here's Looking at You, Kid. That's another one from Casablanca. You've got to take a look in the mirror and look at yourself. You got to look at yourself, kid. And from there, you have to make determinations about where you want to go. You have to assess where you are, assess where you want to go, and then make some steps to move yourself forward. Get to a starting line. You're going to need a bigger boat. Of course, that's from the movie Jaws in 1975, when the people in the boat see the shark. A lot of times when you have a game plan, you have to make adjustments. You have to make changes. Once again, you get to the starting line. All right, they got into the boat. Then they see the size of the shark, and he says, "We're going to need a bigger boat." So be ready to be flexible, be ready to make some changes. May the Force be with you. That's, of course, from Star Wars. And the force that I want to talk about is partnering with the universal mind. We've gone over that ad nauseum, how to do that. Singleness of purpose, vision, visualize the end result, send it into the universe when you're going to sleep and you're waking up in the morning with intensity. Get yourself into a relaxed state so that the universe can communicate back with you. Make sure it's a single thought, a singleness of purpose, so that the universe recognizes that it's not a casual thought, one of 60,000. Make sure that it recognizes that it's one special one out of 60,000 that you think every day. And make sure that you have the universe on your side. That's the sixth sense that Napoleon Hill was talking about. Getting that burning desire. Make the force be with you. Toto, I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore. Of course, that's from The Wizard of Oz. As you advance in life, as you become more experienced in life, you're going to come across different situations, different scenarios, and you have to approach them with a different paradigm. You can't, it's great to have, a childlike mindset, a mindset of wonderment for everything. But one of the things you have to recognize is that you put yourself in different situations, different circumstances. You've got to put yourself in the other people's shoes to see things the way that they see things. You're not in Kansas anymore. Now you're in their locale, and you have to be flexible in terms of recognizing that all people don't see things the same way. There's different viewpoints. I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse. Of course, The Godfather. When you want to be persuasive with somebody, you want to make them an offer they can't refuse. You want to make them an offer that say, this is in my best interest. Now, as in that movie where he says either, you know, your brains or your signature are going to be on that contract, the person decided that it was in his best interest to put the signature, because he'd rather have that than his brains on the contract. Right? I'm not saying to be violent, to be physical, so on. What I am saying is making an offer where the person sees that it is in their very best interest. Focus on what's in it for them when you're trying to be persuasive, not what's in it for you. And when they see what's in it for them, then the persuasion becomes a much, much easier task. Of all the gin joints in all the world, of all the gin joints in all the towns in all the world, she walks into mine. Once again, you get the idea, like the movie Casablanca? I do. Great lines in that movie. Humphrey Bogart is saying that a woman from his past that he loved comes into his saloon. You know, he did his best to forget her. He's moved on. He's a bitter old man now, and that changed him. I mean, that breakup changed his whole life. But things happen in life that are coincidental, that are intuitive, that you have to recognize. Maybe there's a game plan. Maybe the universal planner is throwing, you know, the ball in your direction because the universal planner wants you to make a move. So recognize that a lot of things in life that are seemingly coincidence or seemingly intuitive may or may not be. You talking to me? That's from Taxi Driver. That's Robert De Niro looking into the mirror and, you talking to me? That's what you need to do every single morning. You have to have your game plan in your mind, and you want to visualize it, and you want to say to yourself, you talking to me? Yeah, I'm talking to you. You're the one that's going to get it done. You're the one that's going to take action. Yeah, I'm talking to you. There's no place like home. Another line from The Wizard of Oz. You know, when you go home, there's a certain feeling of security. There's a certain feeling of comfort. And there's really no place like home. Except if you want to succeed in life, you got to get out of the house. And to get out of the house, you're going to find that A, everything isn't so secure, and B, you have to take some risks. And C, you have to make some moves. All right? Being at home, you know, sitting in the big chair, watching TV, relaxing, you know, that's good. You want to have, you know, a little time like that. However, if you want to succeed, you got to get out of that comfort zone, and you have to take some action. The first rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club. You know, the people that you hang around with, the people that are in your orbit all the time, is a critical decision for you to make. They're going to be talking about the same things over and over and over and over. And if you want to advance yourself, and the conversation that's going on within those 5 or so people is not moving you in a positive direction, you got to change the list of people you hang around with. You know, it's a tough decision to make. You have a loyalty, you know, but if you want to take advance, if you want to advance and you want to move forward, make sure that the people around you have that same mindset, because you're going to embrace the mindset of the people that are around you the most. And if you're just beginning to get into that positive mindset, one of the places to go is to the library or YouTube as an example, and find some pundits that are knowledgeable, or go to seminars and you'll find speakers and people in the audience that are forward moving. If there aren't people in your direct orbit, you know, that are moving you forward, find some. Make an effort to find some. Make a change, because things are not going to change in your life unless they change in your mind first. And the only way to change your mind, get your mind moving forward, is to be around people that are forward thinking. To infinity and beyond. That, of course, being from Toy Story. Most people set their goals way too low. If you want to be a super achiever, you have to have super goals. And the point is that if you set a goal very, very high and you only reach that amount, all right, you did okay. So if your goal is to make, $1 million this year and you only make 800,000, well, you didn't reach your goal, but you still did okay, didn't you? That's the point. I used to work with a guy that was, when I was in a sales organization, he was the #1 producer. I was the #2 producer in the company, and we would challenge each other. We would work out partners, and he was very, very good. You don't get to be #1 by not being very, very good. And so every time he wrote some business, I had to write some business, and we challenged each other. And when I would write business, then he would be motivated to write more. And we got, we kept in touch with each other every single day. And he, to be candid with you, always beat me. But being #2 in an international company was still a money-making production for me. There's no crying in baseball. That's, of course, from A League of Their Own. Just the same way as people will, listen to what you say when you're complaining, when you're whining, when you're commiserating about how this bad luck happened and that bad luck, they don't really care. The same thing is true about crying. It doesn't do you any good. What you have to do is you have to make an assessment and figure out how you can change your scenario. Crying only works when you're little. That's when things change. But Eli, you reach a point where we say, hey, stop being a baby and stop crying. Here's what you need to do. Well, you're not going to have parents telling you to do that all the time. You have to do that for yourself. Roads, where we're going, we don't need roads. That's, of course, from Back to the Future. You have to be, you can't continually use things as difficult for me to express here. Some of the things that made you successful early on are not always going to make you successful later on. And I'm talking about technology. I'm not talking about principles. Principles remain the same. Having a burning desire, getting to the starting line, communicating with the universal mind. As an example, these principles remain the same no matter what the technology is. However, certain, technologically speaking, things change. Years ago, one of my examples that I've used frequently is there used to be a video store in every single corner. You go, you take the family, you pick, all right, we each get to pick out one video, all right, you pick out a video, you go home, you watch them, then you bring them back. You don't do that anymore. There aren't any video stores, there aren't any record stores, all right, everything is done electronically. So the point is that in the future, things are going to change. You have to be willing to accept the new technology and not have a get off of my lawn mentality, which I'm sorry to say a lot of people my age have, but I'll tell you the truth. The same thing is going to happen to you, Eli, and people of your generation. When rock and roll first came out, parents used to always say, oh, that's garbage music, okay? And right now, one of the things that I say is, how do you listen to that rap music? Well, in 20 years, there's going to be a different kind of music. I have no idea what it's going to be. You're going to still be embracing the rap music, and the new people are going to say, oh, that's old, I'm not listening to that. And they're going to have new music, and you're going to say, that's not music, the same way as we say to you, that's not music, the same way as my parents said to me, that's just banging, that's not music. There's no melodies. It happens generation after generation after generation. The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world that he didn't exist. And that's from a movie called The Usual Suspects. You remember Kaiser Sose? Great movie. One of the things you have to remember is Murphy's Law, is that sometimes bad things are going to happen. It doesn't matter who you are. There's going to be a hurricane that's going to destroy the city of New Orleans for a time. There's going to be an earthquake that's going to wreak havoc in California, or a tornado in the Midwest. These things happen, and I'm not just talking about acts of God, I'm talking about different scenarios that are going to come up in life. One of the things that you have to remember is the devil is out there, and the devil will put obstacles in front of you. It doesn't matter how many times you fall down. What matters, what makes a person tall, is how many times they get back up again, because these things happen to all of us. Shaken, but not stirred. That's, of course, James Bond from, in this case, Goldfinger, but I'm sure he said it in quite a few movies. You want to be a person that has a particular vision in mind, a particular goal, a burning desire, something that you will not be denied. That's a key element of success. And as we've already pointed out, there are going to be potholes and bridges down and GPS goes out, whatever. Different things that are going to stop you from going in a straight, easy path to reaching your ultimate outcome. Make sure that your resolve is so strong that you are shaken, all right, affected by it, but you're not stirred so that you're like completely taken out of the picture. Remember, failure is feedback. It's not your undertaking. So things are going to happen. Failures are going to make you stronger. Failures are going to make you take a new paradigm. Failures are going to make you go to a new starting line. But these are standard operating procedures. You know, one of the things that I hear all the time is, you know, the economy's not very good right now. And my first mentor, Mort Mutnick, said to me, and this was in the 1980s, said to me, you know, Eli's dad, I hear people talking about the economy not being good and they want to wait till the economy, you know, gets back to normal. And he said to me, you know what? This is normal. This economy is normal. When it's in chaos, when it's not smooth, when it's in the good position, that's when it's abnormal. And I never really thought of it that way until he pointed that out. But think about things in life that go on that way. Sometimes the thing that's not smooth is the normal scenario, and the thing that's smooth is the abnormal scenario. Just a thought, keep it in mind. Mama says, stupid is as stupid does. That, of course, from Forrest Gump in 1994. And think before you act. Think before you speak. One of the things that I want to go over with you that's kind of an important thing is you're going to have situations in life where people are going to say things to you, or they're going to do things that disappoint you, and you're going to want to have a knee-jerk reaction, and the fastest time frame or the shortest distance between 2 points is from your brain to your mouth, and you're going to spit out the wrong thing. Don't do that. When you find yourself in a situation like that, just take a deep breath, count to 10, whatever it is you have to do, and don't say anything, because what's going to happen is your emotions are going to be doing your talking for you and not your logic. And one of the mistakes that people make is when they say something emotionally and the other person hears it, and later on you want to get back together with that person, you don't want to burn that bridge completely, that person remembers what you said all the way through, and it never leaves their mind. That's not where you want to be. Make sure that what you're saying, and this is especially true in relationships, and I'm talking about boyfriend and girlfriend, husband and wife, and I'm especially talking about, Eli, when a friend of yours is talking about breaking up with his girlfriend said this, and then you say something, oh, you know, I knew right from the beginning that she was no good for you, and then a week later they're back together. Well, they're back together, they've forgiven each other, but you know what? They're never going to forgive you for what you said. So be careful what you say, especially in scenarios like that. Just keep swimming. That's from Finding Nemo. A lot of times on the success highway, you know, you want to be going like this, but a lot of times you're going straight. The point is you don't want to be going down. You don't want to be going downhill there. You want to be going where you're moving in a positive direction. And sometimes in order to go in a positive direction, you just have to tread water. That's a key thing to recognize. You're not always going to be advancing, you know, going up the stairs 2 at a time. Sometime you're going to be walking, you've pulled a hamstring, and you're walking up the stairs 1 small step at a time. That's still making an advance because you're going 1 small step at a time. Just keep swimming. Just keep treading water. I'm not bad. I'm just drawn that way. That's from the movie Who Framed Roger Rabbit. You know what he's talking about is, you know, of course it's a cartoon, and people saying he's bad. You know what you have to remember is that people look at you the way that what you give off as their impression, right? So the way that you're, you know, dressed. I mean, here I am. I'm wearing my little Disney sweatshirt, casual. This is a casual conversation we're having. But I want to point out to you that don't always judge a book by its cover. Look a little deeper into people. Some, you know, impressions are important, and keep that in mind also. But sometimes there are some very, very good people that don't always have such great habits. One of my mentors was somebody that was, to be candid with you, somewhat profane as an individual. So I kind of ignored that, and I focused in on the good things, the positive attributes, because you can find those. in a person, you know, and you know, sometimes it's too much. Sometimes it's too much. Like he was too overbearing for some people. But I saw the good things he was doing in business, you just have to sometimes ignore the way things are said to you and focus on what they're said. So don't pay attention to the how, but pay attention to the what. And then you'll be able to move forward. Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain, the Wizard of Oz. There's always going to be people on the sidelines that have their 2 cents that they want to put into the conversation. You know what? Get rid of the garbage, get rid of the noise, because most of the time all they're doing is they're repeating something that they heard somebody else say, and you know, they think it's smart, when actually they have absolutely no idea what's going on, what the circumstances are, and what it is that's going to move you forward. So if there's somebody that you trust, if there's somebody that's a mentor, if there's somebody that's a 5%er, if there's somebody that's the doctor, pay attention to that person. But a lot of times people that are just on the sidelines, that are, you know, in the stands, or, you know, he's a bum, you know, that type of thing. When you go to a ball game and you hear people yelling and screaming, or you go even to a little kid's baseball game and kill the umpire, you know, don't pay attention to the man behind the curtain. Only pay attention to the people that are worthy. Good morning, Vietnam! From the movie Good Morning, Vietnam. One of the things that's a critical thing in terms of establishing relationships, always say good morning. Always say good morning. Even people you don't know, if you say good morning, you know what they're going to say back to you? Good morning. Establish a relationship. Smile at that person. Smile with your eyes. Shortest distance between two people is a smile. Get off to a good start. Get off to a good attitude, because 90% of the people that are walking around, they're walking around like this, you know, and they're in a bad mood, or they want to ignore you, or they're afraid of this. But if you say good morning, the only polite thing to do is to say good morning back, and people want to be good. They want to be their best selves. Give them the opportunity. Say good morning to everybody that you can. The last one I want to give is also kind of our thought for the day, and it comes from the movie 12 Years a Slave. And it is, and I quote, "I don't want to survive, I want to live," unquote. How are you going through life? Are you just being a coaster? Are you just sitting on the table, you know, avoiding this and avoiding that? Or are you out pursuing something great? Do you have a particular goal in mind? Do you have some achievement? Is something you can contribute to society? Is it something you can do for your family? Something you can do for your friend? Something you do for your company, your business? I don't want to survive. I don't just want to say, that's not in my contract. That's above my pay grade. I don't do. Do something extra. Don't just survive. Go out there and live. It's a difference between surviving, existing, and living. You were put on this planet to do something. Do it. And because we will never end a meeting on a philosophical note, let's all get out there and live and charge. I'm Eli's dad.